Greetings and welcome to the February edition of The Place to Be. I'm John Neiman, Executive Director at Father Carr's Place to Be. As you can tell by our color scheme today, this is February, Heart Month, Love Month, a great month for a lot of activities going on. Why this show, The Place to Be? I started this show because I want people to learn more about what's going on in Oshkosh, all the wonderful things. Oshkosh is my hometown, born and raised here. I'm very proud of it. So this show highlights a lot of the not-for-profits and the volunteer opportunities in our town. I'm very happy to have my sponsors who help me support this show, which is Father Carr's Place to Be, and also the Herald, a great place to know all the community news going on in our wonderful community. Also, our floral and set design is by the wonderful Brian at U Bloom. We're so glad, and my guest and I were just saying the set smells so wonderful today. I wish we had smell-o-vision so you could smell these wonderful flowers. This show actually started in September of 2021, and we've made it all the way here through February. Some of the guests that we've had, we started out with Habitat for Humanity and learned a little more about them. And then Mike Luter and his program was Civic Engagement at UW Oshkosh. And then our wonderful Oshkosh Public Library. And then we talked with Salvation Army at Christmas time about all the programs that they do in our community. And then we had the Volunteer Ombuds program in January. And so it's just a chance for you guys to learn a little more, and for me too, to learn a little more about all the wonderful not-for-profits we have in our community. We're talking about the month of February. We already won't talk about the weather in January because that weather every day was completely different. But people still want to get out and volunteer, and there's still COVID restrictions for a lot of agencies. So people are feeling housebound and they want to do something. So I say for February, it's the love month. Why don't you do something at home for the agencies? Thank you cards are a great thing to do. If you sit at home, make some handmade thank you cards and deliver them to churches, deliver them to schools, to nursing homes, to other agencies to say thank you. Also, fleece blankets or crocheting or knitting. Winter is here for a while yet, so if you like to make scarves or hats, I know at Father Carr's, we have a free bin at all of our entrances where people can come in need and get a hat or a scarf or a blanket or some mittens just to make themselves feel better, get out of the cold. So there's so many things you can do. My biggest thing that I always say to do is check on your neighbors. If you notice that your neighbors' snow is piling up or their mail is piling up, why not go over and check on them and see how they're doing? Maybe they're in trouble. Maybe just go and say hi to them or bring them a meal. There's so much we can still do if we can't get out to volunteer. There's so much we can do home for our community. So once again, thank you for joining us. We'll take a break right now. When we come back, we'll meet our guest for our February edition of The Place to Be.
This is CJ, CEO of CJ's Produce. I'm the muscle, she's the brains.
It works.
My great-grandfather acquired Brantley Estates in the early 1950s. Mama Tia is my grandmother. She was actually the first in the family to get vaccinated. I was afraid. I came up with every excuse. My grandmother got her shot. I saw how strong she was. Why can't I? CJ needs his father to show him how to become a man. So I am fully vaccinated. I have somebody counting on me, so we made the leap.
Hi, John Neiman with Father Carr's Place to Be, and here we are at The Place to Be. My guest for this show is the President and CEO of the Oshkosh Area United Way, Mary Ann Dilling. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here, and what a great way to have these beautiful flowers and we can smell them and enjoy them. It's been fabulous.
And she got the dress code. I picked up the reds, she picked up the pink. So as we said, this is an important, fun month, not only for Valentine's Day, but also it's Heart Awareness Month and all of that. So I'm glad to have you here because your personality is wonderful for not only the United Way, but also for the community.
I just feel blessed to have had this opportunity to work with this community. I'm not from here, but I will tell you I am from here now. And I enjoy it and I value it. And Oshkosh is a great place to, really raise a family and to live and to work.
Definitely. And one partnership that we have together is a group called Coffee and Conversation, which takes place at Father Carr's, hosted by you guys. And it's a wonderful chance to bring business people and everyone together. And you make it so warm and inviting because you start with these little ice-breaking games, which I find wonderful. Like, what's your favorite movie, or what's a food, a favorite food or something. And it just brings everyone together, and it's like the time goes by really quickly. But I'm so glad that we're having more and more of them this year.
Yeah, I think it really was something that we were listening. We just listen, and I will tell you, we heard, I'd like to know what other, agencies do, what other programs do, and that's one thing I like about United Way. We should be that conduit to help out, and so we just orchestrate it and step back and let everyone do their thing, and it works out great.
So, how long have you been with United Way now?
I've been a little over 3 years.
3 years, wow.
Yeah.
So, when you walked into the United Way, what were some myths or something that people may have had about the United Way that are totally not true?
Well, I think what's interesting about how I became part of the United Way is my history. I had never been exposed to United Way in my entire life. Wow. No one had ever talked to me about United Way. No one had ever asked me money from United Way. I really didn't have a good handle on it. And you and I have another common thing. We were both worked at EAA.
Yes.
And we both had fabulous experiences there. But I was there, and they called me for this position, and I said, literally, it was a month before AirVenture.
Oh,
so
God bless you.
And I barely remember the phone call. And I was like, I don't know what United Way even does. And they're like, what? And I'm like, seriously, I don't mean to be insulting. I have no clue. So I said, it's a month before AirVenture, and I don't have time. Then they called me again a year later. And I said, okay, let's talk about this United Way. Let's both discuss, what does the United Way do? And if I think it's a fit and you think I'm a fit, great. Mm-hmm. So we kind of sat down and I started to learn. And because I think I would be a tough one, to some degree. So we were going through the interview process, and it came down to the very last interview. And I had a really dear friend who ran the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade for 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
And she passed. And she said, I am going to have, before she passed, she planned her celebration of life. And 150 people flew to New York to celebrate Jean. And I flew back from that and went to the last interview. And it was one of those moments where you're like, it was great doing all this great things with aviation and aviation enthusiasts, but what am I doing for my community? So I moved here, and I said to the hiring committee, I said, you have another person that's really qualified and very United Way. If I was on the hiring committee, I'd take her. I did. And then I said, well, if you really want someone that's going to think out of the box and is just here to serve, then I would be a good fit. So it's a very interesting route.
And it's like there was a guiding hand all the way along. Well, and your answer was perfect, because we all need to shake up things every once in a while and have some changes. And going in, I think, is important too. You're learning as you go. That is really cool.
Yeah, we are definitely a work in progress. We have gotten some feedback's a gift. So we have changed a lot, but we've kept a lot. Mm-hmm. And we respect everything that's happened in the past, and we're just kind of looking forward to that future.
Well, and I will tell you the how I got involved with the United Way too. Before it was always, the United Way, take it out of your paycheck. That was the big thing. But then someone asked me if I would be involved with the Day of Caring. And when I took over the Day of Caring, it was smaller and all this, and I chaired the Day of Caring for 12 years. And it just turned into this big event. The breakfast was donated by LeSure's and by the Hilton, and we got guest speakers to come in, and we were up over 300 volunteers. And to me, that was the community part again, and that's what I love about the United Way. It's community. All the events that you have too are all community, and you utilize volunteers.
We do. And that was a couple of things that surprised me when I got to the role, was the fact that we didn't have a volunteer center in Oshkosh. And I didn't know that. As you know, EAA is international,
Yep.
And so I would spend more of my time working with Boeing and Cessna and different companies. But when I started to dig into this, I was like, we need a website that is going to be for Oshkosh. It's not about United Way. It's really for anyone in the community and beyond that needs to use volunteers. So you can actually go right to volunteeroshkosh.org, and we have it 100% sponsored. And so anyone can use it for free and just go on and list their different volunteer opportunities. And so we feel very lucky to have had that ability to put that in place.
That's a great addition, because we do have the Volunteer Center in Appleton, but people draw the line with the Fox River Valley and Oshkosh, and sometimes we fall in, sometimes we don't. But to have that, and just to see the projects on the screen right now, to see, first of all, the smiling faces, and doing projects for you. And is that the Dolly Parton?
Actually, this is the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. They're getting ready, and if you're not familiar with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, I highly recommend everyone right now can make a difference in our community. Everyone can be a game changer at this very moment. Do you know a child under the age of 5? Anyone under the age of 5, you can go right to our website, or we do have forms, and you can actually be able to fill out a form for any child in our area, and they will get a free book every month at their home. And I think that's what's exciting to me, because during COVID, no one could get to the library
Right.
because we had to close. No one could, the schools were closed. So these kids were still getting their books. And the book is geared right to their age group. So it's perfect.
What a wonderful gift.
Right. And it is just something that, and that's what you're giving. You're giving the gift of reading, and with right now, we have 71% of our kids in 3rd grade are not reading at a proficient level. Nationally, it's 68, so we're right with the rest of the world, okay? And it's not because of the teachers, it's not because of the schools. It's honestly when kids are coming to school, they're not ready to learn. They're hungry, or they don't have, they don't know, like when we went to school, we knew our ABCs.
Right.
We knew our colors, okay? They're coming in and we're starting by teaching them how to use the bathroom and so forth. It's a different world, but we can fund programs that are going to help those kids catch up and be ready to go on with their lives.
And let's talk about that, because the program is the good word that you said. You guys fund programs, and I know the neat thing about you guys is you don't look at numbers. You look at the results that are coming from the programs. Let's talk about some of the programs that how many are there?
Right now, we fund 41 programs in this community. And so basically how this process works, it's a pretty easy process. We look for programs that fit into 3 areas, and a lot of them fit in different ways.
Okay.
So one is mental health, which, before the pandemic, we had 70% of our community was suffering from mental health. Okay? What is that like? Is there anyone that hasn't been affected by the pandemic? Okay. Secondly, as we talked about, early childhood development. We got to make sure those kids are ready to learn. And lastly, any steps to a living wage. So let's say we want you to get a job, but what barrier do you have? Do you have transportation? Do you have daycare? What do you need to be able to go to that job every day and be successful? And so we look at programs. And what's also exciting for me, and this is where it was shocking, was that United Way brings all these different people around the table. I don't have any degree that's going to help me with this part of this career, except for the fact that I know people that are experts. So let them come in, let them sit around the table, let them talk about their resources they have. Let's develop a program that we can fund.
And you're talking about that with the people with your programs, but those are the programs that Father Carr utilizes for its residents. All the programs that you're funding, we're looking for people to get them housing, to get them a ride, and that's what your programs are all funding, to benefit all of us, like Day by Day and Father Carr's. So I think that's really effective and cool that you're doing that.
Well, and it is, our community is so important. It affects every day of our lives. Okay, it really does, every aspect. In the same regard, we're here to serve. And we looked at those three biggest issue areas and said, okay, let's get those people and let's get it done. And so we're really addressing some new things. We actually funded 2 programs this past year that I'm pretty excited about for the early childhood development. And that basically was a program where kids stay in school for 7 more weeks. It was a pilot program. And they stay in 7 more weeks during the summer, and they're making up to almost a year's worth of education in those 7 weeks. The other part is we're working closely with the University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh, and the school district. And we said, what about those kids that are after school that aren't going anywhere and can't go anywhere? They're kind of getting lost in the shuffle. I mean, there's some great programs that we're also funding with the Boys and Girls Club and so forth, but these kids are lost in that shuffle. So now the University of Oshkosh is bringing people over, their students over, to tutor them after school so we can get them reading. And it was really just people coming together for a common good.
I think all of that's so exciting. You know, especially a while ago when I heard like the Oshkosh North students were going to the senior center to help them on computers, which I could use help, by the way, if anybody wants to do that. But I think all of that stuff, the intergenerational stuff that you're doing, a question that I'm sure people ask all the time to you is, should I give directly to the organization, or what benefit am I getting by giving to the United Way first?
There's a couple of pieces to that, you know, and I think that if you have a passion I had a passion my whole life for juvenile diabetes. I have 2 of the youngest cases in my family for the county. And so I really always did. I wrote the check, felt good about writing the check, but I don't know where my money went. You know, I'm not in any way saying anything negative. I don't know if it was in my community, out of my community. I really didn't know. But what I do know now is the fact that 99% of the money donated to United Way stays here in Oshkosh. The money is used to bring people around the table, to solve the biggest issues, and then to fund the programs. And that's exciting to me. The other part is, so let's say you have a passion for, you know, Johnny who wants to read, and you have a passion for also, you know, John down the street can't get out of bed to go to work, or can't even get his child out of bed to take him to school because of mental health issues. And then you also know that we want people always working. And what barriers can we do? Your dollar can be divided up in doing all of that.
Which I do think that if people realize that when it comes to your paycheck and you can divide it out, it is a great way that you can pick your favorite things to go to. And it really isn't that much when you look at it, what you're doing. When I look at, I don't smoke, when I look at the prices of a pack of cigarettes, or I don't drink coffee. I ate so much coffee in college and seminary that I don't not like coffee.
Me too.
but if people would look at that and think how they're spending their money to give back to your community in this way, either physically volunteering, or if you can't do that, giving the money. I've always thought that was cool about the United Way, because you can pick and choose all your favorites.
You can. And the other part that I like about it is I'm the person that if $1 a week is taken out of my paycheck, I am not going to miss that. Let's make that clear. But the other part of it is the fact that I really am impressed with how the money is being used. So, for example, $1 a week, $52 a year. Now, when my kids and my family went to dinner, we taught them math, and we would sit there and say, okay, guess how much our bill is. Well, as my family grew and grew, that bill went up higher and higher. But we always guessed, and you can't go over, because if you go over, you don't win. And so we kind of did that, and then also taught the youngest one how to write a tip, okay, out of the math of that. But now that they're adults, I say to them, which is kind of funny, I'll say to them, okay, our meal, I wish it was $52, and maybe $104 for all I know, with everyone home. And I can tell you that with everyone home, I would say to them, okay, $52 pays for a family of 4 to eat for 21 days. We had this dinner, and we could have probably paid for 2 families of 4 to eat for 21 days. And it's very resourceful with the money, but it's also the factor in awareness. And I think when asked, this community, what I love about Oshkosh, when asked, they step up.
You are so right about that. I mean, I think about us at Father Cars. We put on 3 meals, Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. everything is donated. This community, there are times that I'm actually in tears because people will just come in and say, I saw the need, I want to fill the need. Oshkosh, that's probably one of the best things about Oshkosh. It's giving, and they can give to more than one cause. They can support more than one thing, just like the United Way does. Can you talk to me a little about how do people present a proposal to you? Because I'm sure that they have to do something, and because you have all these to choose from.
Well, and basically, we open up the grant application on June 1st. Okay, and the United Way does not decide who's getting the money, which I thought was really interesting too. I love that because I wouldn't want to make those decisions.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not qualified. But what I will tell you is we have 4 different committees of volunteers that come forward. So they fill out the application. Any questions while this committee is reading the application can directly ask the program those questions. And all the volunteers can see it. And so what's great is and then a very final stage is when they're going through all of this, is we have them come in and just talk now. You know, I want to see a presentation personally. I want them to brag about the good they're doing in our community. And that's the route that we've changed to.
Thank you. Because I think that just takes the scariness out of it, and you're making it more personable.
And that's new. That's very new, because in the past I felt, my first time around I was like, oh, it was a little uncomfortable for me, and I wasn't on the hot seat, I felt like. And that's exactly what it felt like to me. But what we do now is they can come in, they can do a PowerPoint presentation, which I would love to do. And then if there shouldn't really be any questions, because those questions had all been answered, unless there's a question that comes up during the PowerPoint or whatever they're talking about. And then they check in quarterly. So just like we did at EAA, okay, we had a scorecard, and we filled in yellow, green, and blue, okay, and red. Don't like red anymore, unfortunately, except for Valentine's Day, of course. But I will tell you that if they fill in yellow or green or blue, done. That's all they do is fill in the color quarterly. But if it is a yellow or red, we're in a partnership. 2 partnerships, one with the donor who's entrusted us with those dollars, and the second one with the program to make sure they're successful. So we want to help. So a perfect example of this was one of our programs said, I can't find mentors for our mentees. Well, we have a relationship with all the companies.
Right.
So we reached out to the companies and said, we need mentors for these mentees. And these companies right away stepped up. And so they met all the needs that they had, and they met their numbers. And we say numbers is, it's really important that we kind of have some measurable for donors' dollars.
Right.
And so I thought it was interesting. Like one of them they're very creative, and the programs do a very good job of coming up with it. But like one was, we're going to get X amount of people hired, and we're going to check in them on 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days, and see if they're still employed. And that's a great way of us making sure that we're being responsible.
I do remember one of the articles in the paper when Meals on Wheels was still with Oshkosh Family. The measurable story with that was that the client, the male, lost weight, got healthy. There was your answer right there, that Meals on Wheels was working. And you can see the change in people. And I know quite a few of the programs that you fund are that way too. You're changing people's lives. And those stories just need to be told, which I know you guys are doing. You're telling the stories because people need to know.
We're not telling them enough. I'm going to be honest with you. We are a work in progress, and we have a lot to do. It's funny because when I first took this career, people would say to me, where have you been? Why didn't you come to my company sooner? Why? And I was like, I'm so sorry because, if everybody in this community gave $52, we'd be done. I mean, let's be honest. Right. There's a lot of people in this community. And we're lucky that we have such great support, but we haven't even scratched the surface. But we will. And we'll do that with everybody, because it's not just for people at United Way.
Right.
It's got to be everybody.
So you mentioned volunteers that help with your programs. Do you want to talk about some of your upcoming volunteer-driven events that you have? We
definitely have quite a few of them. So first of all, I have to tell you, because if I don't, I'm going to be in trouble with Amy at my office. Okay. But 2022 is our 60th anniversary.
Wow.
So I did not realize that. So that was kind of exciting. And she's working due diligently with her marketing committee of volunteers in the community to come up with some fun ways for us to spread that message. As you mentioned, which I think I also heard a volunteer opportunity from you that maybe you'd chair our Day of Caring at some point. So
I loved that event. I did.
I
do have to say your marketing too with Amy with the Christmas ornaments and everything. I bought them and gave them as gifts to people who were born and raised in Oshkosh to have an Oshkosh ornament. I mean, I hate to cut you off, but that was a great marketing thing too.
Well, and it wasn't really marketing. I hate to say it. We wanted to celebrate Oshkosh, and I didn't know enough about Oshkosh. And so I thought, well, if I don't, and I'm a transplant here, how many other people? So we first did the historical ornament.
Yep.
Well, when we did that, put the committee together, everyone's like, we need an Oshkosh ornament. And I'm like, what? And so seriously, it was them. That's how that all came about. So we definitely have Day of Caring, which if anyone doesn't know, it's basically a half day of working for all different programs in our community, and you get to learn about the programs, which is exciting for me.
We always said it's like trying volunteering on for size. Maybe that place doesn't fit with you, but you can try another one. That's what I loved about it, and the energetic people. It is a great event.
Yeah, but I'm definitely hearing that you're going to possibly be chairing that.
Yes.
So we did just decide our virtual event is our celebration, which we haven't announced the number yet because we're not quite there. But we are having that, and that's going virtual. So that's still coming because we just switched it.
Okay.
So, but we also have our Golf to Give, which I think is kind of cool because I'm not a golfer myself. Putt, I'm there. But in the same regard, all of the money raised, and all the holes are manned by different volunteer organizations. And it's basically a great way to have a good time with people that maybe you work with or friends, and you put a team together, and the money goes to these programs. So I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and then we have our community kickoff coming up in August. So that one is all volunteer run again. So like I said, and we have every Monday a group of volunteers that come in and help us with us being a small but mighty crew. They come in and they do work for us every Monday. And these ladies are instrumental to our success and to the success of this community.
Can you tell everyone where your new office is? Oh my gosh, it's breathtaking.
It is, and we were so lucky. And I will tell you what's interesting about that is that was another interesting little, so what happened was Blue Door moved out of 21 West New York Avenue, which is the old firehouse. And I knew I couldn't afford it. And I was so excited about it, but I knew I couldn't afford it. And I think we need to be about Oshkosh. And so Terry Labe, who was the restoration of the building, he said, you know what, I don't give to United Way, but I can, and I will work through your rent. So we're actually paying less rent than we've ever paid. Yeah, and that's because of Terry. And that's the generosity. And he signed a 5-year contract with us with no upticking of all of the rent. So we are so blessed. But we love it. Yes, stop by and see us anytime. Community people have borrowed it and nights and weekends because we would love to have people using that building. It's gorgeous.
Well, I'm going to have you back again because there's so much that we haven't even covered about this. But you are community. And you can see, I always can say, even if you had a mask on right now, which we don't need, we're okay, but you can see it in your eyes, the passion that people have for certain things, you can see it. So I want to thank you. I want to thank our audience, too, for watching this February edition of The Place to Be. Please send me any ideas you may have. Let me know if you like the show or if you want someone else on the show. But we're here for you. So thank you for being part of The Place to Be Oshkosh.